We traveled over 4,300 kilometers down many narrow and difficult winding roads, but had no regrets because we'd captured that mood and beauty of Scotland. It was a long but incredibly scenic trip traveling down from the Isle of Skye through Oban. Now we've finally arrived on the Kintyre Peninsula, a world on its own. There we would head to Campbeltown, at one time the whiskey capital of the world, and for some a pilgrimage, and the home to Springbank Distillery.
We are in Campbeltown, and I still have a raspy voice. Looking out to Campbeltown there, that's the other side of the harbour. And we went over and looked at Glen Scotia over there. And get an idea of the place we got here. This is it. Yeah, there it is. And just chilling out. So we're just coming into Springbank here, and some very old buildings. One of the oldest distillery families, the Mitchell family, independently owned. Springbank Distillery. And we'll go into the visitor center and we'll get registered. Just looking at some of our Longrow here. There's some 10-year-old Longrow and some smaller bottles down there. I think I'll be bringing a few of them back. Let's see, we've got the Springbank 10 there. Oh, Black Ladder 1993. Boy, they've got some classics in here. 35-year-old. Wow, 25, 50-year-old. Oh, there's some incredible whiskeys here. 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. And we're looking at the 16 on the right. There's the 10 next to it on the left. And we got a bit of a mix between the 9 and the 10s. And there's an 11. That's an odd year. That's a Sherrywood there, 13. And that is the 14 Portwood there. Actually, that's the one I've got. So I've got the 14 Portwood. And there's the 13 Portwood. We've got the, I'm not sure, a 16 Rumwood, 12 Rumwood, and a 12 Bourbon. I'm not sure if these are going to be available. I won't know until we get the tour started, so I'll find out. But again, lots of 25s, 21s, and looking down there, more 14s. That was a bourbon.
Our chairman was Mr. Headley Wright, and he was the great-great-grandson of Mr. Archibald Mitchell. Sadly, he passed away last June, but we are still an independently owned distillery. There's no plans for that to change.
We are going up to the malting room. This is one of the few distilleries that still have a malting floor. So we're looking at the malting floor.
You can pick some up and have a wee look. So this is our 48 barley that we get from the east coast of Scotland. And you'll see there are some little rootlets starting to grow. So this is what we're after, the wee shoots coming out at the end. So every 4 hours, 24 hours a day, our floor is either turned or grubbed. And you'll hear a scraping noise of the grubber being pulled. So that's so you know that you're hitting the ground and getting right under all the grains of barley. If not, you could be leaving a layer on the bottom that's all under together and we would be able to use it.
This is called the turner?
Yes, there's the turner.
The peat pile. Could you point to the worm tub?
So that's the shell and tube, and then this larger one, that's the worm tub.
Okay.
And the aim of this process is to stop the little rootlets from growing, and we'll dry it right down. So on the floor, it was around 46% moisture. After the kiln, it's right down to between 4 and 6%. We're stopping it from growing, and if it's one of our peated whisky, we're letting it take on that nice peat smoke. So this is when we can start to split production into our 3 different products. So Hazelburn is our non-peated whisky, and our barley is just dried on 30 hours of hot air. Springbank is our lightly peated whisky, so it's dried on 6 hours of peat smoke and then 30 hours of hot air. And then we've got Long Row. It's our heavily peated whisky, and our barley is dried on 48 hours of peat smoke. Once our barley is out of the kiln, it's called our malt.
Go for it.
So to keep track of what we have in each bin, we have what we call our Springbank computer. Has anyone heard of it before? No? To make sure that all the bins are completely empty. So there's little ridges around the side that malt can get stuck on. So all they'll do, this one here should be empty, I'll just give it a hit. You could hear a few wee grains running down. They'll just give the bins a good bash. You can see the marks on the bins where they have been hit, and make sure it's completely empty. We don't want to get any Long Row grains of malt going into Hazelburn. Porteous itself went out of business in the early 1970s because the products they produced were so well made, they barely broke down. So great for us, but not good for the business. There's still one engineer who services mills in the whole of the UK, and thankfully he's training up apprentices to continue his job. Because if something goes wrong here, our production stops. So it is a vital piece. So this is when we get our grist. So I'll pass this round and you can have a wee look at it. It's made up of 20% husks, 70% middles and 10% flour. So we will take all of that through to our mash tun for the next stage of production. So this is our mash tun. It's a traditional open top iron cast mash tun which is over 100 years old. What we do here is try to extract as much sugar as we can from our grist. So to do this we do 4 waters. Our first water is 17,000 litres at 63.5 degrees Celsius. And what we get is a sugary water called wort. Our wort will be pumped into the underback in the corner there, and it will then be taken upstairs to one of our wash bags for fermentation. It's the same with our second water. So it's 6,000 litres at 72 degrees Celsius. It's pumped into our underback and then taken upstairs. We do our third and fourth water at 82 degrees Celsius because there's still a lot of sugar that we don't want to waste. So our third water is pumped into a water tank upstairs. It's then used as the first water of our next mash. So we're taking it on and using it again so we don't waste anything.
Yes.
We then add our fourth water and it's pumped into our drainer with our grist, what's left in the mash tun as well. So it's all pumped into our drainer which is outside. The fourth water is drained into another water tank and used as our second water of the next mash. And then what we've got left is called draft. So it's shoveled down the chute into the trailer. You'll be able to see it just outside there. And a local farmer will collect it and take it to feed their cattle. So apparently we have very happy cattle around Campbeltown.
And this is the truck full of draft.
From our underback in the corner. But before that, our wort, it passes through a pan. And this cools the liquid down to between 60 and 20 degrees Celsius. We do this because we add a distiller's yeast. So you can see that sitting on the top there. We'll add 75 kilograms of this, and our yeast will start to eat the sugar and produce the alcohol and carbon dioxide. So our fermentation period is up to 110 hours long. We just take our time and go round. In the 18 and 1900s, they never had an anti-foaming agent. So they would apparently take a bar of soap and scrape shavings off into the wash bags, and that would stop it from foaming. I don't know if it affected the flavour or anything, but it seemed to work. But today we have our anti-foaming agent. After our 110 hours, what we've got left is called wash. So it's like a beer, but a bad beer. It sits at 6.5% ABV, and it's got a deep yellow colour.
So we're leaving the washbacks and we're going downstairs.
So we take 11,000 litres of our wash into our wash still, which is on the far hand side there. Each still has got steam coils inside to heat the liquid up, but our wash still also has a direct burner below it. There's a flame to help heat it up. So our wash is heated up, the alcohol evaporates, is how we can call it a 2.5 distillation. For Springbank, we run the heads for 45 minutes. And this is like between 70 and 80% ABV. So very, very strong, traces of methanol. We don't want to be using this. So this is our heads or tails running just now. They'll run in on this left hand side here. We'll then cut it to collect our hearts into the middle pot here. And for Springbank we run this for 6 hours, down to about 60% ABV. So from that middle pot, our hearts is stored in the vat in the far corner there, and we'll then take our hearts through to our filling store, ready to go into our vat. That's the only part that we'll take on. We'll then cut the spirit again and collect our tails back in over here. And we run it right down to 1% ABV. We can then take our heads and tails again and put it back into one of our vats. The traces of methanol, they will break down after going through another cycle. I'm assuming that's heads because I'm getting a very strong smell. So that is our Springbank 2.5 distillation.
We're going to go take a look right in here. And there it is. It's pouring out. And I'm just going to stick my finger in here. And I'm going to have a taste. And we're just going by the draft truck here again. You can see it's dripping down there, and this will go to the farmers. And now we're going into the filling store. And you can see the barrels here outside the filling store. Those are, I'm going to say, those look like butts to me. Are they sherry butts? And we're sort of getting a little bit of a panorama here of Springbank. It's kind of like a courtyard.
8.5% ABV. So that's the percentage that the spirit will be filled in our casks at. So our casks are all stenciled before they arrive in here. You've got the company name, year of distillation, the product which is inside, and then there's a number on it. So that's the number of casks that we have filled this year. There's also a letter, either A, B or C. So A is the first time we're filling the casks, B is the second, and then C is the third. The casks are rolled onto the scales in the corner there, and they'll be weighed. We'll then roll it back over here and use the pump to fill it. Just like that, so the pump will cut off once they're filled, and we'll then put in the hessing cloth and the bung. Once that's been done, we'll roll them back onto the scales in the corner and we'll reweigh it. So in here we do have a real computer, it's not cardboard or anything like that. And we'll calculate how many litres are inside. There's then a wee space on the top of our cask which will stencil how many litres is on. After that, they'll be rolled out into the yard and ready to be stored in one of our warehouses. So today I'm going to take you round to one of our traditional dunnage warehouses. So these casks are sherry Oloroso casks which we have just got in, and they are around 1,400 euros per cask. It is just because of the sherry there's not as great a demand for it anymore, so they're costing a lot more. Our bourbon casks, which we're getting from America, they can cost about £200 per cask. So it is just a huge difference, but it's just what we've got to do. You can see along the top there we've also got the different sizes of casks which we use. So typically our barrels, they'll hold 200 litres, and then right up to the butts, which is what these are, so they hold 500 litres.
We're looking over toward Kilkerran there. That is the Glengyle Distillery. And we're in the dunnage warehouses now.
So this is one of our traditional dunnage warehouses. So dunnage is Gaelic for earth, and as you can see this is the earth floor here that our casks are matured on. We've got 5 dunnage warehouses on site, and we've also got 3 racked warehouses. So we are also in the process of building more warehouses just to give us some more space. Our racked warehouses, they've got concrete floors and the casks are stored on metal beams. So this is right up to 10 to 12 casks high. It's a much bigger scale. But in here we've got the traditional thick walls and low roofs, so our casks are up to 3 high and stored on wooden beams. It helps airflow right throughout our warehouse, and the cask can take on the nice sea air more than the door. We don't add any artificial colourings or flavourings to our whisky, so the spirit takes on everything from the casks. For the sea-fill casks, by this point they've got nothing left to give really. They're just used as a vessel to hold the spirit. So they're typically used for our Springbank 10-year-old. It's made up of 60% bourbon and 40% sherry. So we'll take about 30 casks of that ratio to our bottling hall. We'll mix the spirit all together in the vat, and this is called the marrying of the spirit. We'll then fill it into our sea cask, and it'll be brought back to a warehouse for a 6-month honeymoon period. So it's not given any more colouring or flavouring, it's just being used as a vessel to hold the spirit for a little longer. After that, you could say it's the divorce. It's back to the bottling hall, and it's all split up into our bottles ready to go out on the shelves. Casks must mature in here for a minimum of 3 years. After that, we can take it out and bottle it. It just depends on what management are deciding to do. We also cannot let the spirit drop below 40% ABV, otherwise we couldn't call it whisky anymore. So all our casks in here are regularly checked and monitored, make sure none of them are starting to crack or bursting, and I'm hoping all that's on a computer as well. It's not endless sheets of paper or cardboard somewhere. We do have a range of casks. There's white wine, port, Madeira, rum. We do also mature some casks for Cadenhead in here, so you will see some other whiskies than Springbank, Longrow, Hazelburn.
And you own Cadenheads?
Yes, yes. So they're the independent bottler, so we will buy casks. It could be, there was a Jura whisky somewhere close to the door, so we'll buy a cask, mature it in here, and then bottle it down there. That part of the wall is Springbank.
And I think we're heading in to have a dram. And of course you can pour your own bottle in here. Some choices here of what you can pour out of.
So the wee driver's dram is the Springbank regular 10-year-old. The wee miniature that you get to take away, it's Springbank 8-year-old, and it's 100% bourbon. It's just bottled for everybody on the tours. So you get to take that away as well. For everybody who can have a dram, you can either choose from our Hazelburn 10-year-old, so no peat, Springbank 10-year-old, lightly peated, or our Longrow heavily peated.
You never get enough pictures, you know that.
I got up early the following day and was the third person in the lineup almost 2 hours before the opening. There were only 2 15-year-old Springbanks available, and I got one of them, as well as the only 9-year-old cask-strength Longrow Palo Cortado. Most of those in the lineup left without a bottle.